Okay, fine. I'll open. Hmm. Hmm. What are the Java features or Java buzzwords or Java advantages, whatever we say. These are basic points that we need to remember, and we need to talk about Java in the very basic discussion of Java during the interview process also. But of course, this would be the case for Sai, but for you guys, it may not require. But having idea on this would be helpful, which will make you to understand what you are doing. Java is platform independent. So the basic and first and foremost basic feature and advantage that we need to remember about Java is it is a platform independent language. So platform independent means what? Compile once on any platform, run anywhere. Means run or execute that application on any platform, irrespective of the compiled uh, platform. You might have compiled your application on a Windows machine, but the same generated uh, bytecode you can run on Linux machine or Ubuntu machine or Mac machine, anywhere you can run. Hmm? How it is possible that compile once and run anywhere is possible, or platform independent feature, how it is being supported in Java. In general, while compiling any language applications code, that will generate a machine code or binary code. Means directly high level programming language source code cannot be understood by any machine and cannot be executed by any machine. Any machine means hardware does understand only the uh, bit strings, binary code, bit strings, right? Ones and zeros instructions only it can understand. But how does it get that bit strings from our high-level programming languages codes or language programs instructions? Through the process of compilation, our programming languages compiler components or compilers will convert our source code into machine code so that machine can execute. That is happening. But when it comes to Java, the Java or the Java source code or application will generate the bytecode. Here, this bytecode does not mean that the binary code. It is binary code is different and bytecode is different. This bytecode is not the ones and zeros formats, not in bit streams. It is some intermediary language specific to Java only, and which can be understandable by JVM, and this bytecode will be interpreted by JVM to the underlying platform to run the application. To run the application. So because of this process, JVM is means the Java compiler is generating the bytecode, and JVM is interpreting that bytecode to underlying platform during the runtime. Target platform will get the instructions from JVM during the runtime in binary format. That's why this platform independent feature is supported by Java. Is it clear, guys? Yeah, Purnima garu. Yeah, Purnima. Can you? Is it okay for you? Or anything is confusing? Yeah, yes. Exactly. Bytecode. So here, screen share out. Huh? Okay. Now. Oh, okay. Hmm. I was sharing from Joe. Sorry. I need to share in Teams, right? Can you see? Okay, fine. Mm. So these are the points. Mm. Now, what is JVM? JVM is nothing but Java Virtual Machine, and we can define about JVM as JVM is a component in Java which interprets the bytecode to underlying platform to run the program instructions. Here, interpreting means converting the bytecode into binary code or binary format, right? Next, another feature is architecture neutral. Java applications are here. Java means Java is platform independent means not actually Java. All this, whatever features are buzzwords we are telling here, these are the Java applications features. We can develop our Java application as a platform independent. Again, Java is platform dependent only. While you are installing, you might have seen that you have got different versions for different operating systems, right? Did you get that doubt? You have downloaded Java and installed, right? While installing, you might have seen that Java for Windows, Java for Linux, Java for Mac, like that you have seen. That means what? Original Java software, Java language uh, is platform dependent. That's why Java vendors have been created. Java vendors have created individual Java versions, versions for or Java flavors for each and every operating systems, almost all that are available in the market. But in every Java software, anyhow, we have the JVM. Every Java software, we have JVM. That JVM will convert our Java code, Java bytecode into binary code. So our applications, whatever applications we are going to develop, we are going to write, those applications are the platform independent. And the Java applications which we are going to write, those applications are Java applications are architecture neutral. Again, architecture neutral means again our hardware again may be having different architectures like 32-bit architecture or 64-bit architecture and 8086 architecture, all this, right? Hardware architectures, all these architectures also could be supported by means irrespective of the underlying physical hardware architecture, our Java application can run. Why? Because of JVM. Because of JVM. Java vendor is releasing compatible JDK and JRE for almost every platform and architecture. Hmm? So here now Java vendor, why I am saying as Java vendor? Because now the vendor has been changed. Now it is Oracle. Hmm? But if I say like Oracle is releasing, again it would be leading to different some conclusions. That's why I'm saying as Java vendor. Initially, Java vendor was Sun Microsystems, but in 2010, Oracle had acquired Sun Microsystems. So we can say in generic terms, the Java vendor. And while we are installing Java, there would be a couple of components that will be installed in our machine that are JRE and JDK. JRE means Java Runtime Environment, which is required for running our applications. And as the and JDK means Java Development Kit or Java Developers Kit, which is uh, required for Java code development or application development. So as the developers, we require both of this, JDK and JRE. And of course, when you are installing Java, what you need to download and install in your machine, you means you specifically as developer, you need to install JDK in your machine. While installing JDK, you get JDK and JRE, two components into your machine. But for the real end users, customers, they don't require JDK. it is enough to have only JRE, Java Runtime Environment, for the end users. So here, these two I will show you now. When we are installing our Java into our machines, what do we get in program files? We get a folder. After installation of Java in program files, you can see Java folder. Inside Java folder, you get JDK and JR. You can see that JDK and JR. You know why these two folders again we got? I have installed multiple versions. That's why I have multiple folders. But you might be having one JDK folder and one JRE folder in your machine. Okay. Now, this JDK is very important for us as we are developers. Inside JDK, we have again, even in JDK, we have JRE also, right? So inside JDK, we have bin folder. Inside bin folder, we have so many applications, exe files. All these are supported for Windows operating system. While my machine has Windows, so I have installed Windows flavor of Java. Hmm? All these are, if you see, type is application. Application means exe files. All are exe files, which we can run from our Java code command prompt. So among these, the important things are this Java and Java C. So about this we'll discuss later. Right now, just have a glance and remember these two, Java and Java C. And others we don't require to bother about. All that will be used internally, but explicitly these two only we are going to use, Java C and Java. Next, in JRE, oh okay, sorry. In JDK, another thing is lib. If you see in the lib, here we'll be having again so many other supporting jar files like tools, SJDI, all these things, which will be internally used by your Java virtual means Java compiler, and that will give you support for all your predefined libraries uh, which you are going to use. Like in C++, we are calling as header files, right? Similarly, here we are calling them as libraries, jar files, which we gonna use in our application development while we are writing our code. So this, like this, we get some internal uh, components when we are installing Java. But for the end users, means real-time customers or end users, they're having this only JRE is enough. They don't require this JDK component, but as the developers, we need this JDK and JRE both. Okay, is it clear, guys? JDK and JRE, and while installing Java, what do we get in our machines? As the developers, what are the components we should have? As the end user, what is the component they require? These points are clear, right? Yeah, Purnima, Raghu, yeah, yeah, just acknowledge me whenever I say, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, Purnima, do you have Java in your machine or need to install? Uh, okay, okay. Uh, you can install it. I will show you that link also, everything. From there, you can download and you can. Next feature is object oriented. So what is object oriented? or object-oriented programming development approach. Java applications are completely object-oriented applications. So we can say already uh, there are several languages which are supporting object-oriented programming approach even before Java. For instance, the most widely using object-oriented programming language at the time when Java has been introduced into market was what it is C++, right? But still, why Java become more popular and more why Java is attributed as object-oriented programming language? We can say Java as almost 100% object-oriented programming language. Here, actually, Java applications are object-oriented applications. Java applications are almost object-oriented, almost 100% application are object-oriented applications. Now we can say Java applications are object-oriented applications. Everything we can refer in Java as an object. So what is object and what is object-oriented approach? About this in detail, we'll discuss and we'll try to understand object-oriented concepts later in later sessions. So right now, you just remember Java supports 100% object-oriented application support development. We can say Java applications, we are saying like a complete object-oriented applications development are 100%, but really not 100% object-oriented applications. These are still, we can say 99% of Java applications would be object-oriented, and but 1% would remain still in uh, remain still in remain still in regular functional or procedural uh, programming approach only. Why it is not complete 100% object oriented Java is because still it is making use of uh, primitive data types. Primitive data types. What are primitive data types? The data types which we are using to declare our variables in our applications, right? Like int, float, double, char. All these are primitive types. As long as you are making use of these primitive data types, your application cannot be referred as 100% object-oriented programming language. But of course, if you avoid usage of these primitive types and write your Java code, then you can say your Java application is 100% or complete object-oriented programming application. So all this in detail you can understand when we are going further. Right now, you just try to remember maximum. Don't try to understand very in detail. Right now, you just try to remember these points, whatever I am speaking. Later in further sessions, when we are doing the code, all these theoretical points, whatever we are discussing, you can observe there. Then you will get clear understanding. But you should remember these points. Then only you can get understanding. Okay. Try to remember these points, whatever I am speaking. Okay. So object oriented, what we can write about object oriented. We can develop almost complete object oriented application using Java, but still use primitive types which are procedural or structural or functional programming language. So to make our application complete object oriented, should avoid use of primitive types. So by avoiding primitive data types, then how should we declare our variables and how should we store the data? Those things we'll understand further when we are discussing the corresponding concepts. Okay. Right now, this whatever notes I'm typing here, try to remember this part. So next, secure. So whatever applications we are developing using Java, this could be more secure. Why? Because application is being generated, means application is being compiled as bytecode, and that bytecode would be utilized or interpreted by JVM every time, and it is not going to be directly executed on the machine directly. So even any hackers are trying to access and modify your application, the bytecode will be corrupted. Once bytecode is corrupted, JVM does not interpret that instructions on your machine. So the corrupted or malfunctioned code will not be manipulated code will not be getting executed on machine when the manipulated code or tampered code is not executing on machine. It is, we can say it is safe to run the Java applications on our machines, right? So in this perspective, we can say our Java applications are secure, and of course even Java will occupy certain memory space specifically for it, which is called as a Java virtual machine occupies some specific space which is organized into different uh, portions like heap memory and method area, stack memory, like this. So all the variables or memory allocations are being made in that particular memory partitions, which will make ensure that that memory would be accessed by only JVM, not from outside. Why it is not letting other code instructions are accessing that memory, only JVM is accessing? Because Java is not making use of concept, or Java is not supporting pointers concept. Pointers concept. So in C or C++, there is a concept called pointers, which is very powerful and very useful concept. At the same time, it is very dangerous concept also. You remember, right? Pointers, and you know about pointers, so that are that gives you direct access to memory locations by using the pointers. When it is giving you to access memory directly using memory physical address, then it is always security compromising will be there in that kind of access to the memory resources. Outside programs can corrupt that memory locations when there are permissions to access directly to the memory locations and reading the data. But in Java applications, the Java will allocate, means will get separate allocation for it under JVM scope. Only the JVM, the instructions presented in JVM can access using the variable references or variable names only. It can access any data presented in the application should be accessed using JVM instructions only, not by the direct pointers usage. Means physical memory address we cannot take and we cannot access the data. So in that case, in that perspective, we can say Java applications are very secure. Clear? So in simple, we can say secure because Java does not support pointers. How we can say Java is secure? Java does not support pointers, so it does not give direct access to the memory locations to read data. Always the memory application data should be accessed through JVM instructions only with the corresponding variable names. So it is secure access. It is secure access. Okay. Is it clear, guys? Secure. Yeah, very good. Yeah, Sai, Raghu. Yeah, yeah, fine. Now, robust. So, what is robust? Robust means what? The strongest. Difficult to break. It is difficult to break. It is difficult to break the Java applications. Java applications, whatever we are developing, we can develop them in such a way that that cannot be broken by the outsiders or not even outsiders. The application would not run into a crashed state. How it does not run into crashed state, we have to write the code in such a way that that would be a strongest application. In any scenario, application should not run into crash. So using Java, Java by making use of Java exception handling, how we can build robust applications by making use of Java exception handling constructs or exception handling mechanism. We can build strong, robust applications. Robust applications. We can build robust applications. In simple terms, we can say how we can make our application as robust by making use of Java exception handling mechanism appropriately. Clear? So these are the major features or buzzwords or key points that we need to remember. Platform independent, architectural neutral, object oriented, secure, and robust. And of course, so many others are also there, like reusable and faster development, modular programming. Yeah. Robust. Yeah. Yeah, I'll explain. So robust means what? In general meaning is like strongest or fault tolerant. We can say in either way, fault tolerant or can handle uh, like a bottleneck situations to avoid run into crashing state. Hmm? So application, whatever Java application we will be developing, that we can, if we utilize exception handling constructs or mechanism, which is available in Java in a proper way, appropriate way, then we can build our application that never go into a crash state, or to face the crashing situations. For example, see, yeah, you have developed a calculator application, for instance. Now, when you have developed a calculator application which is performing arithmetic operations, what would be the input types? Always it should be a numeric values should be the input types, right? But instead of giving the numeric values, if I give like a plus b or a minus b kind of inputs, hmm, so always I should give like a 10 minus 5 or 8 plus 2 kind of things I have to give. But if I give a minus b or a plus b, then application does not understand. Application is expecting numeric values, but you have given the inputs as characters, text values. In that case, application doesn't understand and it will terminate in between without giving you proper information. Well, if you give A and B as the inputs, then what your application should do? It has to inform that, hey user, you are entering invalid values, inappropriate values. You should enter numeric values, but you are entering text values, which is not permitted for arithmetic operations. Like that, it has to ask you and ask you for the appropriate values and collect again correct format of values and perform the operations. Instead of saying that, simply it displays some message, some method call stacks and come out from the application. Then what happens? You feel that that is nothing but application crashed, right? If application is terminating without giving you proper information and giving you an opportunity to enter correct values again, if it is turning off, means terminating, that is called crashing situations. So such kind of scenarios, such kind of situations we can avoid by making proper use of exception handling mechanism. Clear? Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, Raghu, Sai. Yeah, got right. Okay, fine. So these are the basic features. Now let us pause the theoretical discussion as of now here. Why? Because continuously, if we are going with the theory discussion only, you will get bored again. Now let's create a simple Java program and run that program. That means we are going to write a first Java program and compile and run. How do we write Java program? How do we compile and how do we run? That we see now. So when we are writing any Java program, what we can do, we can, let's go for the office underscore Java. We can write our Java programs or Java code anywhere in the system. So create a separate folder for your Java programs to be placed collectively so that you can refer further in future whenever you want. So now, and to write your Java programs, you can use any text editor. That could be Notepad or Notepad++ or any plain text editor. As of now, I go with the plain text editors only, and later I will introduce you the IDEs like Eclipse or NetBeans. NetBeans outdated. I will introduce you Eclipse and IntelliJ. Of course, if you want, NetBeans also I will show, but that's not much in use right now in the organizations. So, and initially, while learning Core Java, going with Notepad will give you better command over the language, and your coding skills will be, means Java coding skills will be improved. Why? Because manually you are doing everything instead of taking help of IDEs. Hmm. Okay, guys. So initially, until Core Java will be using only Notepad only. We have to type everything manually. So if I want to write Java code, how should I write it? As we said that Java is a complete object-oriented application development. So everything we need to write in the form of class only. The code should be written as class only, not like directly main method we cannot write. So how to write a class? Simply the keyword class we have to write, and followed by the class name. What is the class name? Let us say my first Java program. Any name we can give. So you can write the class name like this. Now, inside this Java program, what we need to write as a whole, it is a basic Java program. Let us go with writing our main method. Any application, if we want to run any program, what is the entry point of any program? The main method, right? Main function. Method is nothing but function. In C or C++, we are calling them as functions. In procedural languages, we are calling them as functions, but in object-oriented programming terminology, we should refer that as a method, right? So main method we should write like this, right? Main function we are writing, right? But in Java, this main method, simply like this, we cannot write. We should always write this as public static void main, and which takes a parameter of type string array args, string array args. So what is the meaning of each and every this word I will explain further. Right now just try to remember the standard code what we need to write. And inside this I wanted to print some simple welcome message. So to print some welcome message onto the console, what is the command that we need to write? System.out.println. This is the standard command that we need to use to print some message onto console. Console is nothing but our command prompt or terminal. So now here, welcome to Java training. So after this, we can save the application. Where should we save? In our E drive, OFS, sorry, online training, OFS, Core Java, JB 8/2021. So here, save this file with the same name what you have given for your class name. What is the class name you have given here? You have given my first Java program. Exactly the same spelling should be there. Why it is, I will tell later. As of now, you remember it. First Java program. Exactly the same. You can copy and paste here. And the type, what should be the type? The type should be Java. Java source file .java. We have to save our file with .java extension. Right? Like this, we need to write my program.java. Save it. Now come to your folder. Here you can see your my first program, right? File type should be Java. So save as it has come to the file type might have changed. That's why it has come as .java. Save it as .java. See, automatically when in Notepad, if you use a simple Notepad, everything will be in black. But if you use Notepad++, it will give you some support, like all keywords will be highlighted with some different colors, like blue and brackets. Braces would be in red, like this. But try to make use of plain Notepad, even rather than using Notepad++. That is recommended. But later we can go for this. Okay. So in this way, we can write a Java program. Now, if you come to the folder here, you can see Java file. Okay. Delete this Java plain file. Yes. Yeah. Yes. All the files should be .java. Yeah. Source code. Yeah. Yeah. Java source. You have to specify. In a notepad, I think it may not give you the option like Java source file. You can keep it as all files, but don't forget to give the extension as .java while giving the name. Okay. Now we need to, this is the Java source code. Directly this Java source code does not understand, means machine does not understand this Java source code and it does not print anything. So if mission means it is nothing but now our command prompt, CM, right? This command prompt. So now in this command prompt, if we want to run this application, first of all, we need to compile this Java program. How to compile? To compile this Java program, we need to make use of, here I have shown you right before, in our Java bin folder, this JDK bin, what we have seen, Java C and Java, right? So to compile your Java program, you should require this Java C. This Java C we need to run from command prompt. How can we run? Just like a command. That's why we are calling this interface as command prompt, Java C. Then for this Java C is nothing but your Java compiler. To this Java compiler, as the input, you have to give your Java file name. What is the Java file name? We have given my first Java program, right? So directly we need to give like my first Java program the Java. Like this we need to give. So we are compiling. So we are saying Java compiler compile this file. Then what happened? It is saying Java C is not recognized as an internal or external command or operable program or batch file. So Java will, first of all, to make use of this command Java C in our command prompt, we have to link that command with our command prompt. How to link? By setting the path, to this. So yeah, so what you can see, just copy in the build folder where your Java C and Java are presented in build folder, right? Copy this. Now here set path equals to paste and dot semicolon. Dot means already existing path. If anything is there, that also should be appended. Get into the path. Now run the Java C, my first Java. Now what happened? Java C, now it has been recognized. What is the other error it is saying? File not found. Which file is not found? My first Java program.java file is not available. Right. So where it is presented actually, my first Java program is presented in this path, right? Online training, E-Drive, online training, OFS, core Java, JB 0821, 2021. But in command prompt where we are on C drive user, right? So from here we need to navigate to this path. So we have to change to that path. CD E drive. Now E drive, come to E drive. Now inside E drive, what where we should go? CD online training, OFS, core Java, JB 08 2021. Now, if we run and this my first Java program dot Java means Java C space my first Java program dot Java. If we run, it will compile our Java program. After compiling, if you observe this, here we are seeing our folder, right? My JB 08 2021. So if you observe back also, what happens? It will compile our program and generates a file, see, with the same name, my first Java program. But extension, if you see here, dot class, dot class. It compiled our Java program class, my first Java program. We have defined it as a class only, right? My first Java program is a class, right? So for that class, it has created one compiled format of our class file. My first program dot class. Clear, guys? What is happening? Yeah, Purnima, is it clear? What happened? Java. Yeah, what is happening? It is very simple. Just when we are compiling our Java program .java file through Java C, then it compiles. Generally, if we compile our C programs or C++ programs, what do we get? We get exe files, right? What is the output of compilation process? Exe files. But here in Java, instead of exe files, we get class file, dot class file. Oh, okay. Why dot class file? Why not exe file? If it is exe file, directly we can run from our command prompt. But dot class file directly we cannot run from command prompt. Why? Because this should be executed, means interpreted by JVM, and the JVM should interpret each and every instruction. Dot class file instruction. Dot class file contains what? Byte code, not the binary code. So this bytecode instructions should be interpreted to the OS by JVM. So, so to run the application. So in short, as the very basic simple initial step, you just remember to compile Java program. First, we need to save Java program with .java extension. Then to compile Java program, we need to use Java C space Java file name. Then to run Java program, we need to use Java, my first Java program, only without extension. Our class name we have to give. Our class name we have to give. In the class, we have written main method, right? So this is the entry point for execution of any program, right? In any language, any programming language, the entry point of execution is what? Main method only. So in our program, where our main method is presented inside this my first Java program, right? That's why we have to give this class name as the input to Java. Actually, as of now, you can remember this Java as a JVM. You can remember Java as JVM. Hmm? How our applications will run under JVM, right? So we need to use JVM. So how to use JVM? Like this. Just 1 minute. Please. Yeah, hello, Virat. Yeah, yeah. Good morning, Virat. 2 minutes. Yeah, yeah, sure. So enter. So welcome to Java train. So like this, we can create a Java program, we can compile the Java program, and we can run the Java program. So what is that bytecode? How exactly that bytecode looks like, and what JVM will do? That internals we'll discuss tomorrow. Let us pause here today, and we'll continue tomorrow. What is that bytecode exactly look like, and how that is going to be interpreted to the system by JVM. Yeah, yeah, Raghu. Hmm. Yeah, I'll share. Yeah, I'll share. I'll share. Okay. Avuna. Okay, okay, not a problem. I'll share the video link also. Yesterday also I given you the link. Yesterday's means previous sessions link. This link also I'll share. I'm uploading it to YouTube, and I'll be sharing that link so you can go through whenever. Okay. Right. Right. Okay, guys. Bye. Have a nice day. Yeah. Yeah. Bye. Yeah, Purnima, is it okay, right, for you, or it seems any difficult? Oh, yeah, sure. Only one recording is there. Only just a basic one, right? Yeah, I'll show you the installation also. Yeah.